Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be making this orange cat from Stray. I'm going to be using Toralei for this because obviously she is the best doll for it. I start off by cutting off all of her hair at the base of her head. This was probably unnecessary since I end up giving her basically the same hairstyle but without the blue stripe in it. Although I do like doing the face without hair in the way, so I guess it works out. Then I take a head off in a transition that is clearly not smooth, the lighting was completely different, then use needle nose pliers and scrape around the inside of her head to get all the plugs out. Small little fact, this video was supposed to be posted after this one here, but I ran out of acetone, so this transition took 3 months to make. Anyway, her face is gone now. I use pastels, and instead of blushing her face, I use it to make a kind of fur pattern on her face, just to give it a little more detail. I reference an image of the cat from the game, then use brown and peach colors to make her fur. Once the sealant has dried on that, I just paint her scalp orange. Now starting on her face, of course I start by painting in the whites of the eyes. I figured that since the fur detailing made her look so realistic, I would paint in a gray stripe and then blend it into her eye to give her a touch more realism. Of course, the style of eyes that I usually do makes her look more cartoony again. I start by painting her eyes light green, then around the edges of her eyes I use dark green and blend it in from there. Don't mind the tips of my hair poking in every now and again, I was trying to be really focused on this. I continue to blend the dark green in with her eyes and add a touch more light green in the middle when I need to. In this transition, which is at least a little bit better, I put a black outline around her eyes. Of course, you can't have a cat without a little nose, so I painted on white first, then a light pink. I paint in the crevice of her mouth, and then I debated on whether or not I wanted to give her eyebrows, then I just gave her really small eyebrows like with what I did with the LD Shadow Lady doll. And of course, I had to give her toe beans. Then I shove her head back on and realize that Toralei's body is actually very yellow, and I wanted it to match the head at the time, so I paint in orange and then go over it with pastels with brown and tan again. Yes, I am aware that this looks completely awful, but at the time I thought I could save it, so I go over the whole thing with a brown wash. This is the result I got, and it's also where I draw the line. This looks completely awful. So I spent a good hour washing it all off. Luckily, I hadn't sealed it in already, so it was pretty easy, all things considered. Just use some soap. And luckily, the head survived, even though it was dunked under hot water the whole time. Then I remembered that I had to put the glossy varnish over her eyes. Before starting on her hair, I want to put a little bit of fluff in her ears. So I take some yellow yarn and brush it out. Then I glue it in and trim it up. I made it way longer than it needed to intentionally so that I would have room for error. This is one of the only dolls where I put actual guidelines on her hair so that I wouldn't glue where I wasn't supposed to. Her hair is going to be mostly orange, but I also put some brown streaks in there to match with her fur. Once it's all dry, it's way longer than it's supposed to be because I was overcompensating. And so first I cut down the back of her hair like this is going to be a little bob. Then I cut her bangs. I like that they're still a little messy while also orderly, if that makes sense. Because you know, she's a stray cat. I'm going to start off by making her pants. They're going to be like Clementine's in that they're going to be a bit baggy and pulled up to the knee. So I start out with this pattern, and I made the bottom of it wider so that I can gather it up. Her clothes were honestly a bit of a challenge for me because I was trying to fit something into the cat theme and also the theme of the whole game. This one that I cut out actually had a seam going through it, which I wanted to iron out. So I actually got the courage to do so on camera. And I'm not going to ever again because the light of the iron is blinding on the camera lens. Then I just gather up the bottom and pull it tight. Well, I say tight, it's really just going to be like 4 centimeters. Then I cut out another rectangle, sew it right sides together, and flip it. Again using the iron. I really should have learned my lesson, but apparently I didn't check the footage. Once I have both pieces of the pant leg, I fold them in half, sew them up like that, and then simply put them together. For closing it up and attaching both pant legs, I use a back stitch because it's the strongest hand stitch that I know and it's very reliable. I put the pants on her to try them on and had a very hard time getting them on, so these are never coming off again. If you watch my channel at all, you'll know this pattern. It is my tunic pattern that I bought from Requiem Art Dolls, and I love it. I love it so much. I will never make shirts or dresses or anything any other way again. I cut it out of this green felt, and let me just tell you, felt is the worst thing to sew with ever. But I do it anyway because it's the darkest green fabric I had. Once I cut it out, I flip it over like this and just sew it closed from sleeve to the bottom of it. And then boom, it's done. You just need to turn it inside out. Which I had to unpick the sleeves and then redo them again to get them right side out. I hate felt so much. I made this little belt out of literally just a ribbon and then tried it on the doll and decided I didn't really like it all that much. It didn't really give me Stray vibes, so I did that all again but with red fabric. This is not felt, by the way, and I thought it looked a lot better, so I figured I would just stick with a warmer color palette. To add more detail to the shirt, I paint light orange around the bottom of the hem. Once that was done, I traced a pattern of a cat head I made onto this shirt and painted it with the same orange color, with my head popping into the frame and everything. This is of course the logo for the game, which I was referencing off camera. Once all the black details are on, I decide to call the shirt done. And now for the little backpack. It first needs a vest, which I made the exact same way, with black fabric. Then for the actual backpack part, I made out of some cardboard, which I tried to cut out with an X-Acto knife, figured it was taking too long, and quickly switched to scissors. But when it was cut out, I painted the interior of it black before I put it all together. In the game, this is technically a screen, but I do not have the materials for electronics, and I don't think I can make a screen that tiny. So I just use some clear plastic instead. Then I use hot glue to put it all together. Once it was put together, I painted it black and was careful not to get any paint on the clear plastic. Then I take my dotting tool and make 6 white dots on the backpack. I honestly thought there were more badges in the game, but apparently not. I paint them all in with their respective colors and use my dotting tool and a teeny tiny brush to paint in the details. The last step for the backpack is to glue it on, which I just use hot glue for because I didn't want to wait for any other glue to dry. Here it is tried on the doll, and I think it looks great. But it's not quite complete yet, because of course you can't have the backpack without B12. So I sculpt them out of clay. And granted, my sculpting skills are not that good, especially at this tiny of a scale, and I'm not even in the center of the frame right now. I make a rectangle, then poke in wire for the little antenna. There's also a big black antenna that goes through the middle of it, but because it probably wouldn't fit in the backpack if I put it on, I didn't include it. I use my tools and water to smooth it out and add the indentations on it too. And then when the clay is dry, because this is air dry clay by the way, I shorten the wires and then use glue to hold it in place. Then I just add all the little details. Once all the clay and glue has dried, I put on a white base coat and then all of the other colors off camera, because honestly at this point I was getting fed up and tired. Mainly because this video was supposed to be made and done months ago. You'll see all the colors in one of the photos in the end, so I just pop them in the backpack. The last thing I wanted to make was a poncho, since I'm pretty sure in the game we were all very disappointed that we couldn't wear the one we got. I used this hat that I got at a thrift store and cut a hole in the top. At first I thought this was all I needed to do. I was severely wrong. So I cut a good chunk of the bottom off, and this knit was actually really thick, so I had some trouble doing it. Of course, ponchos don't have slits cut into them, but this doll can't pull anything over her head, so I kinda need to do this. Then I tried on, and it looks ridiculous. So I trim it down some more. It looks less ridiculous, but I don't think this will be a permanent fixture of her outfit. And then they're done. I hope you enjoyed the video. See ya!